I'm Al, I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. I'm going to call this The Conversation with Al McFarlane. Today is Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along. Before we bring our guest on today, I want to remind people and thank people for being part of this, for listening, and invite people to share this conversation, share the conversation with their networks, your audiences. We want to grow a community. We've got some goals, and we think that your help, your support is part of both identifying and achieving those goals. Those goals are to build community, to connect, to be a place where our people can share, can reflect, can celebrate, can criticize, can weigh in on what it means to be community and weigh in on the creation of the kind of community we know we deserve and that we believe we can build. Build it for ourselves and build it for humanity. It's a question of acknowledging and accepting the responsibility we have as human beings to be our best selves, to be sovereign, to be, again, shareholders at the table of decision. Well, on Wednesdays, we invite people around the theme of community and wealth building. And the idea is that we want to focus on home ownership, for example, on small business, on banking, on creativity, on things and events and resources that help us create a sustainable lifestyle for our neighborhoods and for our families. Today is no exception. I'm pleased to have a person who is a lifelong resident of Minneapolis, Leslie Jackson. Leslie Jackson is here to talk about, among other things, work she's doing in creating and promoting art and artistry in the community. And the idea behind her project, I'll let her tell the story, is to identify and encourage young people to use the medium of art to express who they are, what we can be, particularly around the idea of the green community, the green economy, the green future. Leslie, welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here and thank you for the work you do. Let me always start by asking my guests to give our listeners and viewers what I'll call the you know, your project 101, the basic on the Minneapolis environmental artist. What's the word for it now? Artist. Um
Syndicate?
that's the word I'm looking for. Explain that. Explain it and give us the background.
Well, as you said, I'm born and raised in Minneapolis, and I've been around, I call the greats, and they all have given back to our community. And behind everything, it comes hard work and dedication. I have graduated from the University of Minnesota as an environmental scientist, also as Augsburg as an artist. And I wanted to give a message to our community what work we are doing in the green zones. I am the co-chair of the Northside Green Zones. I'm also a commissioner on SEAC. So on an advisory board to the mayor's staff as well as the city council. As a
SEAC
green,
is what? What is SEAC?
um, it's the Community Environmental Council
Okay.
Advisory Group.
Okay. Great, great, great. All right. Cool. And so let's talk about the Minneapolis Environmental Justice Arts Syndicate. Syndicate, Sindakitt. You have to explain that name for me as well.
Well, it's a different spin. And growing up in Minneapolis, we don't have the ghetto, we have hoods. And so you got to come gangster. And so the changes of our city and things like that, it's a collaboration of community as well as the people that live in there and the different organizations working together to create a change in our community, which is what the Green Zones is actually about. Um, Working together to uplift our youth is the aim for the syndicate. So I partner with the Sierra Club, SEAC. I've also have oh my God, I'm so nervous. Some of the Green Zone members from the north side and the
Sure.
south side. Also, many Minnesota Historical Society, as well as Minneapolis College Arts and Design. So
You
these are the syndicate committee. So we're coming gangster in our city to make a change.
got it. I'm looking at your website now. It's nice. You can pull it up if you want to, Vosh. It says syndicate, SINDAKITT, is presented as a noun, and it's a group. And it's a play on the word syndicate, obviously. A group of individuals, organizations combined to promote some common interest. And what you're doing, according to this document anyway, is aiming to encourage youth to creatively express environmental justice and to provide a space to spotlight the talent for youth artists. The goal of the contest that we're talking about today is to raise awareness and inspire collective action to address environmental justice issues facing Minneapolis communities. This contest encourages inclusive participation by youth and by judges from a range of backgrounds and experiences. I think that's a wonderful idea. I think it's wonderful to bring all of the ways of knowing, the ways of being that we have as a Black community and as people of color to the issues of the day. You know, I love the fact, Leslie, that in the past, too often, our community, when we heard the word environmental or green, it was also code for white, meaning that white people, the hipsters, uh, back in my day, the hippies were the environmental warriors, right? And the advocates, and they kind of took that space and owned it. They were concerned about the trees, about the water, the dogs, the whales, and became the tree huggers and saved the wolves. And there had always been, from my point of view, you can correct me if you see it differently, uh, a little of a disconnect with their enthusiasm, which is appropriate for the well-being of the environment, but the harsh reality of the negative environment we lived in, that environment created and maintained by institutions all around us that at one level or another they were either oblivious to or ignorant of or or part of. And at the end of the day, the consequence was our lives were kept at the margin. And as our communities developed and we reviewed the things we do that, from our point of view, are natural, like fishing and hiking and walking and bicycle riding, it was almost like those are white pastimes more than ours, even though we did them and we were being acculturated away from the things we did as families for generations and generations to be healthy and to maintain our health. But right now, what you're doing brings us back to being us. That's what I think. Am I making sense to you? Does that make sense as a way to approach the conversation?
It is, but you hit it right on the head. But you put it eloquently. Um, I dealt with racism at an unbelievable level to obtain my degree at the University of Minnesota. As an environmental scientist, it's pertinent that all hands be on deck. I don't care what color you are because we all breathe the same air, water, soil, we walk on it.
Yep.
So my struggle is different than those behind me because of George Floyd um, incident, because we've had other murders right there on Plymouth Avenue where I used to play, in front of the police station. That used to be the way to watch the movies on Fridays. You remember those? And dancing in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
So we have endured so much in our community, and to give back to me means more to get these kids focus on something more than guns and being scared if grandma's going to get shot on Plymouth going to get some cookies, or my little sister might get shot in a drive-by, anything. But I feel that putting hands and color crayons and um, books in our kids is very important, because that was stolen from us. And I say stolen knowledge is what's the knowledge that we had as individuals, that we used to share the newspaper. We used to share food and growing, and used to go to grandma's house over south on 36 and be in the garden, or just different things, as a community. And we have endured so much, from the riot on Plymouth Avenue to the riot over south. So like I say, I'm true Minnesotan, south side born and raised north side. And I had the pleasure of warriors in my family. My uncle Leroy Jackson, first county attorney, Bernadette Anderson, a civil rights and an activist, growing up with Prince, Andre Simone, Terry Jackson, William Dowdy in that household. Even though they were musicians, they still gave back in the community and helped other musicians and worked strong to uplift our community. I was one of the first bus to Nokomis Junior High. Instead of going to Lincoln, I went to Nokomis. So I was a part of that, which Glenda Jackson and Bernadette and other, Jeanette Miller, made possible for us to be desegregated in the city. So I've seen a lot of changes, and giving back to our youth is very important. I give out books. I try to help encourage people. Being in the woods and being in white space is I'm the only Black one. Why aren't there more Black people? Maybe because you hang us, maybe because don't make us feel wanted or comfortable. So I dealt with that even in Chicago, restoration, Dan Ryan, the Bobian Woods. I've done restoration work, and I was always the only Black in a dominated Black city out there on a Saturday morning to do land restoration. So to me, giving back is something I grew up with, playing at Bassett Creek and being called Woodsy Owl by the band, and singing songs. But that was something that I did, collecting bugs and throwing them on them guys. But it's being a kid. So having the opportunity to grow up in Minneapolis and playing along the shores of Theodore Worth, and riding the bike to Nokomis Lake from Theodore Worth, it was something that we did as kids. And I just fell into the rabbit hole of loving it, the space that we have. And I want our children so much to enjoy it and be safe. And it means so much to our Green Zone members that this project really takes off, because this is only the first. The billboards will be at George Floyd Square and 94th and Broadway. 10 kids will be attending Minneapolis College Arts and Design, and 2 of them will be in a new program for environmental landscape. So this is only the first. I'm working on other things to try to get kids into STEM programs, or just have an adventure outside of Minnesota to see different places where they're doing things. I just thankful to have the opportunity to be able to give back, as those women and pioneers in my life from North Minneapolis has encouraged me, inspired me. And I watched the changes happen, and I just want to give back so much to my community.
Well, this is great. I'm as you're talking, I'm sending a post out to people in my network. I'm trying to spread the word. So I do this as we do the program. I encourage anybody listening who's getting a notice to both pay attention, join the conversation, and share this fact that we're alive now with their networks. Just so you know, we are being presented through the StreamYard uh, platform, presenting live to the Insight News YouTube channel, live to the Black Press of America YouTube channel, and then simultaneously we're going to the Facebook channel for Black Press USA, to the Insight News Facebook channel, to Al McFarlane's Facebook page. We're also streaming simultaneously to LinkedIn and to Twitter. So what's the idea? The idea is to use you use the word all hands on deck, right? Every asset, every tool, every resource to connect, to communicate, to share our story, and to create connectivity, to create conversation. What we also do, let me introduce to you Brenda Lyle Gray, who's on my team. Brenda is with me every day at this time. She's joining the program from her home in New Mexico, and she writes the stories on these conversations. So she and I, connect and talk to and listen to and generate content for the newspaper. And we love doing that. It's a great idea, great service. And our goal is to, again, present this in written word, present the audio and the video to make it available as an archive that people can get to. We have these interviews transcribed for use down the road. The idea, again, is to be comprehensive, expansive, and intentional in valuing what we say, what we think, who we are, and what we do. We believe it's important, and we have to act like that, and that's what we're doing. Well, that's why it's important to hear you, Leslie Jackson, to have your voice and to elevate and celebrate your work, your vision, and your passion. I'm so glad that you're here. And I thank you again for taking the time to spend with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's
I,
truly an honor. Oh my God.
well, the honor is all mine. And I love the fact that you are a native Minnesotan, because I think it's important to have people who are from here bear witness, tell the story. Here's what happened. Here's how it went down, because you were there. What happens too often is revisionist, right? After the deed is done, and we cut out of the deal, somebody comes with a new story saying, "Oh, they weren't interested." Let me tell you a story. Uh, I went to a meeting of a North Minneapolis neighborhood organization where you used to live, and where I live right now is called Willard Homewood. And there was an organization called Willard Homewood Organization. You might remember Van White way back when, back in the day.
Yes, yes, I knew him. Yes.
Okay, so Van, for those who don't know, Van White was the first Black person to serve on the Minneapolis City Council. And Van was the leader, chair of the Willard Homewood organization. And this was back in the late 60s, early 70s, when neighborhoods were being created and organized around federal funding called the Community uh, Development Block Grant Program. It was like the Great Society reinvesting of federal funds back into neighborhoods. And the Great Society initiative, initiated by Lyndon Johnson, was a powerful tool for moving lots of Black people across the whole country into the middle class, into the professions, into government, and into the corporate arena as well. Well, so, after some years, the shock of Black people being in charge in a neighborhood, uh, uh, our adversaries, the haters, figure out how they can get past us and around us, right? And they feel like they discover that they can have the meeting before the meeting and the meeting after the meeting and do the deal. And they've lived up to the letter of the law, but certainly not the intent of the law, because what they are doing is talking about stuff like, well, let's see, you'll say, I mean, super extraneous, nonsensical conversations that when our people show up at the meeting, they say, "I ain't got time for this. I got stuff I'm cooking at home, stuff I'm doing out and back. I got something to do, but sitting there talking about twiddledee and twiddledum, I can't do." So they are intentional in having a discussion that glazes over our intent and makes us feel like, as you said, we don't belong. And when we leave or don't come back, they say, "Oh, well, we invited them. They didn't show up." And as everybody knows, the world belongs to those who show up. We're here. It must be ours. And so they use that process to keep us out. So once Liz Samuels, did you know Liz Samuels?
No, I probably
You
seen
probably
him.
did, because she was Bernadette's road buddy. Liz, Bernadette, Aura Hoax. Who else?
You
Uh,
know, I see all these people, but people's names, because when you're a kid and you're
yeah,
doing kid stuff, The
You
parents are over there, and you got to be seen and not heard and
well,
go
you
do
know,
you
Cozy
over there.
Breedlove, but that Cozy Breedlove and all that crew. That was the crowd, right? But Liz and I were at a meeting and of the new people trying to reorganize Willard Home Organization, and uh, a white, and we kept objecting to all the stuff that these guys were trying to do, right? And from our point of view, it was like white people trying to reestablish themselves as the leaders of the black neighborhood.
Great white
Liz
hope.
lived here, I lived here. I'm in the same house across from where you used to live, across the park. So, white guy new in the neighborhood, and lawyer says, "Well, you all keep objecting to everything we're trying to do. Uh, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to stop us from, progress in the neighborhood. Who are you and why are you here?" So Liz looked at him and said, uh, I can't say the words she said, but she said, I was born here. This is my neighborhood. You the one that just showed up here a couple of years ago. And if you don't like how I say and what I say and when I say, that's your problem. This is my neighborhood. And so that's an important thing, I think. And your being here, all that was to say, Leslie, you telling the story is critical. Us telling the story is critical. And with that, I wanted to have you actually go back and talk about growing up in North Minneapolis and South Minneapolis, some of the people that you talked to and were around. Be more specific and give people some props, because I think a lot of people in your life and our lives deserve praise and recognition.
Well, I grew up over south and off of off of Frank, where the Indian Center is. My grandmother had us in a native community until the highway came, and once the highway came, we moved over north.
Let's
And
talk about that.
those changes,
How
yeah,
was it
those
living?
changes.
How was it living in and around a Native community for Black
Well,
people?
everybody shared.
Mhm.
If somebody's car didn't start or they needed a ride, everybody worked together. If you were hungry, nobody went hungry in the community. I lived next to the Pucketts. I can't remember too many other people named in that neighborhood, but it was different. It was like it was natives and black natives. And so
Mhm.
I identify as being American Aborigine because of my grandmother and the Tears of the Trail. So she was more into the natives. So we really didn't eat soul food. We were more venison and
Mm,
vegetables
okay.
and fish. So native people would come over and bring squirrels and all this. And I am talking about, yeah, we used to eat squirrels, blah, blah. And then when I see it, I was like, wait a minute, my brain just clicked like, oh my God, I was eating rats and thinking it was the coolest thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was interesting. A rude awakening. But transferring from south to north and growing up in the Jewish community, it was different. And that
Mhm.
was pre-riot. And
Mhm.
so going to John Hay, we had the fire drills, and I mean the tornado drills. We used to go down in the tunnel right there. And I mean everything was different. It seemed like everybody got along. It didn't seem like it was racism. You didn't hear, any gunshots, or it was a community of people caring. And when we were together with the Jewish people before they all moved out to St. Louis Park, everybody was just everybody. And then the riot changed Minneapolis so much that everybody just changed. I mean, their attitude, the helping, the caring, everybody became cold. And we got new people I call them transplants, but transferring of people coming in our to community, and everybody, like you said, want to come in and make changes. And that's how North Minneapolis is now. That's how our city is. We have all these entities of people coming in and wanting to make changes with what they see best. And I get upset because it's like you didn't do good in Chicago, but here you are. You didn't do good in Detroit, but here you are. And so
Mhm.
here we are with this overlap of crime. Nobody trusts anybody. Give money to the black community, but I don't see it. What's going on? And so we lost our connection here. And being a Minnesotan and born and raised Minneapolis, and the work I seen Bernadette, and as you name, Miss Samuels, it maddens and sickens me. Even people don't even know Prince got that school over there on Olson Highway. That's the school Prince had, and it's a black school. I believe
Mhm.
his cousin Denise was over that school. I don't know if she still is.
Over
Denise Smith.
La Crèche.
Yes, Denise Smith, Charles Smith. He played drums for in the first band Grand Central that Prince was in before Prince signed with Warner Brothers. But um, yeah, she became a principal and helped educate our community. But it was all predominantly black school right there on Ocean Highway. But so Prince had community gardens. I worked in several of his community gardens with Mother Zulu, who's a storyteller in our community and tells
Mhm.
Black history stories. She does a lot of tremendous work in our community to uplift the women and the young men. But
Mhm.
it's a lot of garden and food. And after Prince passed away, the gardens had shut down. So we had watermelon, we had cantaloupe, and people would come get collard greens. So all this transference has just recently happened from the changes of what's going on. And it's just interesting that our lack of education has changed with the transference. So our schools have closed. Some of our kids can't read. I've tried to work in some of the schools where the kids are just un, uncontrollable to me. And as you say, the white, I don't want to sound racist. I only see humans because of my experience living my life of 65 years on this earth. But I just see humans. But the way that they treated the kids in this one particular school, it. I got angry. I got bumped in that school. I was told I was trying to teach the kids about air monitoring and placing an air monitor in one of the highest ranked schools that we have in Minneapolis with asthmatic. They said, "You got good at, but we don't want you here. I know who your name, but we don't need you here." And the woman screamed at me, and I walked out the school. The kids were intelligent, but they needed discipline and structure, and that's another thing in our city is that they took the rights of parents to discipline our children because they gave children would come home and say, well, if you spank me, I'm calling the cops on you. You'll go to jail. Where that message came from, I don't know. And it's a big, strong message, even with the football player who disciplined his child and got benched. So
Yeah.
that's sending a message that I can't spank you, but you can go out there and get shot by the cops. You can have a gun, but I can't spank you and take it away. So I have to live in fear of my own child that I can't discipline, but the state and the state of Minnesota says, no, you can't discipline our children. So our children are running amok. And that's where I wanted the contest. And I'm gonna do it again for a lower age group because now our kids 8 years old have guns. If they're young as 8 years old, that will stick you up and take your car from you. So it's a scary situation. Minneapolis has changed so much. And I only feel that making change to help them see that they're talented, they're creative, and this is all kids across Minnesota. I don't care what color, what their background, their culture, or anything is that we are a community and we're a diverse community. And within our community, we have strong leaders. And within our leaders, we're trying to figure out a way what to do in a more positive way, especially over North Minneapolis, where we've been overburdened with pollution and different health entities from the things that are happening. We're rated high with air quality. We don't have the proper air monitors. And yes, I'm speaking it. We have Herc right in the center. We have Mary Jo over there giving out food while Herc has complications while we're breathing in burnt plastic where they're
Break
not
break
regulating
break that
things.
down. Break that down because somebody might not be in Minneapolis and
Well,
might understand what you're describing. Describe what Herc is and describe what Mary Jo is.
Okay, so we have in the black community across the nation is where you will find the industry in people's cities where they have factories, where they have incinerators. So Herc is a county entity where we eliminate our waste. We recycle it, and if it's not clean, it gets burned. And when I say clean, recycle, if your plastic is not clean, like you're washing dishes to eat off, they will send it to Herc. 15% of our waste that's plastic goes to HERC. And what gets me is not being monitored by the air monitors. It's only used by a model. And that's a model that, like, okay, so you have a model. I have this candy bar, but I'm only going to make a model. So I'm leaving so much elements out, and it's not being regulated properly. So HERC is by a center where this lady has food shelf housing for whoever needs it, basically families. And so you stand in line and you're across the street from HERC, and if it's not working properly, you're going to get the ash from the burn of the garbage on you, in your mouth, or whatever. Not only that, we have the Twin Stadium there. HERC used to shut down before we had a Twins game. Not anymore. Because of the growth of population in Minneapolis, it runs 24/7 nonstop. So all the trash and the waste from some of the suburbs, if it ones break down, we get that garbage. And the air below current covers North Minneapolis. So they no longer build fancy rich apartments over there. So because of HERC, the air still continues to blow over North Minneapolis. And with the growth and the population of the growth and the growth of trash, we are inhaling more contaminants that's not really being regulated because of the air monitors. So I yell about that. And the plastic and the health of our community. Lead is another source that we have in North Minneapolis in our dirts. You might think it looks normal. It picks up in the air and you breathe it. That's lead. Please get lead testing. So now we have have vans out from the health department testing our youth, and they're giving $50 gift cards to get your kids tested to encourage it. We had Northern Meadows, which is shut down. There's $60,000 allocated to North Minneapolis for residents to get some money to get tested for lead, which I'm want to change that because people used to live over north, was affected by it, moved, but now it's only allocated to those that just moved here from Detroit or Chicago. You might have had asthma or some other health problems prior, but you still be able to get it because you live in that community over North Minneapolis. So there's a lot of things that are happening that the green zones, my home, the green zones, North Minneapolis, are fighting for. We have Roxanne O'Banner. She has an environmental justice tour bus that will take you to all these different entities that I speak of that are polluting North Minneapolis. We also have Michelle Shaw, who's putting edible gardens on boulevards in your community. If you want a garden right in front of your house, Michelle will come out. You have Michael Cheney, who works with the youth to do safety net as well as community gardens. So we also have a healing circle by Yolanda O'Hara in our group. So we're working on doing different changes in the green zones in North Minneapolis. We're also we have air monitoring program. We're getting ready to launch off a 101 base where we're coming into the community. The Cynic Minneapolis Environmental Justice Art Syndicate will be leading that. So we'll be going to different centers to talk about air monitoring 101 base to give an education. If you want to air monitor, you can reach us at the green zones or even the health department. We have an air monitoring program going on in Minneapolis now and trying to reach to the community. There's all kinds of different things. Green, you say green. Yes, we're turning Minneapolis green and we're working very hard. It's a dream that we have. We also have we have Plymouth Avenue, used to be the skating rink. Chavez Staples has a solar panel where he's training our community about solar panels and being able to install them. So there's a workshop there that he has. And there's also a program for the youth to learn that they can get a stipend through Markia Keys, and she's a Green Zone member. So the Green Zones, we're awful busy. And let me say this, all the entries for this art contest will be creating the first Minneapolis environmental justice coloring book with entities of what's happened in our community, the injustices, the good and the bad. Also, I want to shout out to Alan Page. He has a foundation. Anybody interested in going back to school, you write a good essay about yourself, reach out to them, and they'll pay for you to even get a PhD. And I'm like, oh my God. He said, no, they got to come and apply themselves. So we have all kinds of people giving back into our community. And it's just the thing, if somebody, nobody knows because nobody's talking about it. It's like it's a big secret. If I tell you, you might die. I might have to kill you if I tell you. But it's stuff going on that's there for our youth, and nobody's saying. It's like, where are the youth at? And it's like, are we scared of them because they're gang? Are they having guns, or they might rob us, or what? But we got good kids here in South and North Minneapolis, and they deserve a chance. They deserve a better education than what the city has given us. They deserve a better life. They deserve clean air, water, and soil. The quality of our life has changed since I was a child. The snow doesn't even exist in Minneapolis anymore. Remember sliding down between the cars, how high the snow used to be being a kid, and making snow angels? Can't even do that no more. It's extinct. But Minneapolis, we deserve it, a better life. And I'm on the bandwagon of fighting for environmental justice for our community. My degree, I could get a job. I can make a lot of money with my environmental science degree, but I choose not to. I'm working in a nonprofit, and I want to make a change. And that's the only way going to be a change, is to voice our opinion and to get out and do it. Talk about it is one thing, but be about it. And I'm there. I'm passing out the flyers, reaching out to our community, trying to reach out to the kids. I will be at Minnesota Science Museum coming up next week to talk about this contest with the Freedom Schools that we have going on. The National Freedom School is having a convention there, so I'll be there. I'm just trying to spread the word. Other Green Zone members are out spreading the word about the changes that's happening. Please be involved. Talk to your council members. See what's going on. Please join us for our meetings. The South Side. We have one tonight, 6:30. It's a joint South and North Side meeting. But just please get involved. Make changes. Help make
Les- Les-
changes.
Leslie, I love the passion, love the information. As you were talking, you mentioned Michael Cheney, and it uh, reminded me to pull up and present our cover of this week's edition of Insight News. And what's powerful and what's beautiful about this edition of the paper is two young Black men working in a garden, growing vegetables, growing food, and working as part of an initiative to create sustainability, environmental consciousness, and awareness. And the beauty and the power of this image, Leslie, is that if we don't describe ourselves as owning this arena, we will be described as not interested, not aware, and not involved, and therefore inconsequential. To be consequential means being present, but it's even more than that. It really means being present and then telling yourself and telling the world who you are, why you are present in the room at the table, and what your vision is for the future. And we have to use language to create proper definitions of who we are. So instead of us being looked at as young thugs, I see us as young, new environmentalists. We have to recast, rephrase the reality that we're in ways that point to a future that we can win, that we do win in. So I'm glad to have that. Now, Sean Lewis was here a second ago. I don't know if he had to leave, but if he's here, bring him on, because Sean is the one that alerted me to what you are doing. And Sean and Brenda talk all the time, I think, about a
Oh,
variety of things. Sean, are you
he's
on?
my mentor, Leslie. I'm 75 and he's probably around 40. And I tell you, he sends more information. I'm like constantly reading. I love him and never met him personally, but he is
I'm
phenomenal.
Yeah, Sean, I get those emails too. Sean is very informative. He gives so much pertinent information, especially about this fight for environmental justice in our community. And I just thank him for all the information that he gives me.
Oh, it's heavy.
It's like he's an encyclopedia.
I know. And I tell him, I said, Angela Rose Myers and you will end up in the White House. We might not live to see it, but boy, you're going, starting this young and such powerful activists. I love it. I'm former educator. So, to see kids blossom like this, the millenniums, it's exciting. So anytime I get an email, I've got to read it, at least know what it's about.
Something in our community, and that's a great thing. I just don't like that we have to model our lives as far as environmental pollution by Michigan, and I bring that up. They removed Michigan's incinerator, and if we did shut ours down, we'll have a landfill right in the heart of our city. But
Mm.
it's a work in progress trying to figure it out. We have new committees and things, so I'm just asking our residents and anybody just to get involved to find out what's going on about the air you breathe, even the water you drink. They work very hard to keep the water clean, and the air I'm fighting about, but the water, depending on your area, it's pretty good to drink. The cleanest, the last place that you will see the Bassett Creek, I'm gonna tell you this, is over by the impound lot. That's the last place it goes before it goes to the Mississippi River. I used to monitor it, and it looks like looking through a clear glass, crystal glass. That's how clear the water is.
Mm.
Yeah, Highway
Oh
55 is
yeah,
Bassett
that took
Creek.
That's
It's very clear.
interesting.
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be a little mucky, but it really wasn't. It was just as clear, and you can even see the bottom of it. It's like, oh my God, I want to get in there and relax. It's beautiful water that we have in Minnesota, and there's different programs. The WEP program, the kids can go out and learn about the water and the animals, well, the invertebrates that are in our shores to tell what water's healthy and which one's not. We also have people to teach kids about bees and go out for night walks with binoculars to look at birds. It's just a whole array of different things for our community, which I'm working on now bringing to us now that COVID's lifting. I was, like I said, trying to work with Minneapolis public schools after schools, but dealing with an individual, let's just say a colorful, distinguished individual, um, deterred me from working in that capacity, but I still share information and the contacts with other educators in the school systems that are working with our kids, so the kids will be able to um, get outside and enjoy our lakes and woods, because we have woods and they're
Well,
I
I
see
was
I
about
see
to
Sean.
ask
Sean
you.
is back, Brenda. Let's bring
Oh,
Sean.
good.
Sean on. Hey Sean, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly. And we see you as well.
Here's your old mentor, old mentee. He's my mentor.
Well, it's good to be here. Sorry for the mix up and stuff. I was doing some remote work, and I'm at Bryan Square where the kids were out, and I thought I could have a Wi-Fi connection there, but it didn't hold. And they're having the youth designated areas at the park, and people are having a good time listening to music playing and just eating
Wow.
food and
Well, that
relaxing.
sounds like fun.
Yeah, I wish it makes me wish I was a kid again, because
I
you get to
know.
really enjoy the green spaces. You get to enjoy being around other folks and just being outdoors.
Well, Sean, thank you for, as you always do, sending me the alert, introducing me to Leslie in this particular project. But you send stuff, as Brenda was saying, every day. And you are a real super resource for the community, for my newspaper, and others as well. So thank you publicly for that. On this question of the environment and on environmental justice, what do you think the challenge is, and what is the opportunity for our people and for our community?
Well, the challenge is for us to really understand what people mean by environmental justice, climate justice. There's different interpretations of it. And then there's different levels of which people enter in on it. Some people are fully aware, some people are partially aware, some people are minimally aware, and some people don't think it affects them. So it's meeting other people that look like you from a culture of a background like you that can really understand why this is significant, why this is impactful. As far as the opportunity, climate change is changing our environment globally. And so it does create opportunities like switching from coal-based type of activities of burning energy to switching to renewable energy. So solar, geothermal, and wind. And that creates opportunities for employment, that creates opportunities for businesses. So that's what I would say in a nutshell.
You mentioned the work that is going on Plymouth Avenue with what's my friend's name down on Plymouth Avenue with
Jamez Staples.
With Jamez Staples, right? Significant because both training and employment can take place and are taking place in the middle of the Black community. And in fact, the president has said, I believe, on many occasions that the green revolution ought to be centered in the city, and that ought to be something that is driven by and supports the development of Black and brown urban communities. Does that make sense to you, Sean? Is that the opportunity?
Yeah, it makes sense. That is the opportunity. That's what the president says, but it's also got to be response from our community to hold him accountable, to claim it, to say we want to be involved in the allocation of resources to make it happen. We want to be involved in the decision making process, and we want to be involved not only just consumers of energy resources, but producers of it and influencers of it.
Great, great.
Wow.
Sean, reflect, if you would, in the next couple of minutes here on what's happened in our community since the George Floyd incident. I don't know if you're a native of Minnesota, Sean, or not.
Yeah, I'm a native. My mom came here in 1940. So I'm born and raised here. This is all that I've known in terms of living in the United States, although I've traveled overseas. The thing with George Floyd is my biggest concern. He was an African American person, an African American male, heterosexual male, and there's a lot of activities that have been done in his name and what he has gone through. But our African Americans and African American males in particular, benefiting from some of those things that are going on in terms of raising money, in terms of creating opportunities to deal with injustice, in terms of making sure that our society is better off than what it was before, the situation, happened.
So you're saying we African American males are or are not benefiting?
I'm questioning that. I
Mhm.
think some people would say it's debatable. Some people would say, yeah, some African American males are benefiting. Some people would say it don't. I worry about things that happen to us, and I think Al, you talk about it in terms of we get the misery and other people get the resources, they get the
Mhm.
money, and so I'm worried about that scenario played out, and I think it's something we have to work hard to make sure it doesn't continue like that. That there's a pattern out there where it continues.
Leslie, you got a comment? You want to jump in there, Leslie?
Um, can I don't want to sound rude, but people are getting money and they are benefiting, but they're just not going back in our community. They do the bare minimum. We don't even get it. If we get the bare minimum, we get overlooked. In the green zones, we are um, being overlooked. It's not, it's a variety, a diversity of people. We're being overlooked in some of these decision makings that are happening in our city, south and north side. So we have to write letters. We have to fight. We're fighting hard for our right. And as far as the black males being overlooked, I don't know. I think I don't think it's benefit as far as George Floyd. I hear different talks in the streets and in the community, I don't think it changed anything. I just think that um, some people took advantage of it. They tore up our streets, people that didn't live here. Our community is rebuilding. We're building together as a community. More Black men are being noticed to do this work that I see getting more involved, but it's a slow process because without the education, then we won't have it. You don't, nobody really has a clue of the racism that goes on in these institutes to educate us. So many times I wanted to quit at the University of Minnesota, being called nigger by professor, saying my name is Mush in Green Hall and that I speak gibberish, don't understand anything that I do, my work being taken from me and me reporting it and them putting their names on it, all kinds of things. And that continues, we're not going to have it. We're not going to have the Black strong community to uplift and build. And that's just getting the education about the air, the water, and the soil. At Augsburg, being a photographer, I dealt with stuff, and the woman told me, well, you live over North Minneapolis, go take pictures of Black people on the porch. First of all, the people in my neighborhood don't hang on the porch. And secondly, I'm not taking pictures of no Black people on the porch drinking and turning it up with a camera to survive. So, it's crazy how these schools and the professors within the schools, even in the education system of grade school, defined us as ignorant, don't want to give us hope. I see a social worker and the after school coordinator at this particular school laugh when the kids were calling each other the N word and thought it was funny. None of the parents were called for the kid's behavior. And then when they did, they want to call the police on the parent and take the kid away because the parent wants to discipline the child. So until the education in our city of Minneapolis changes and the schools for us to be educated to help educate our kids, we're fighting a losing battle. We have to do like secret, pass the newspaper at night to each other's house so they don't come with the white sheets and burn us down, because they're burning us down in the schools. Trust me, I've been there. I have a blue belt in Taekwondo, been boxing, and I'm in the gym. Okay, I can kick over my head. But I didn't do that. And I was security at the University of Minnesota. And I had keys. And I didn't make national news. So being bumped against the wall, I just, other Black people said, shut up, keep your head down. I'm not that. I wasn't raised that way. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And if I have a question, I'm going to raise my hand. And I'm just as intelligent as anybody else, and so are we. We're young, gifted, and Black, and that song needs to come back, because all this other stuff, shake your booty and twerk and all that, what you gonna do? Now that you're shaking it and you got it out there, now what are we gonna do with it? We can't spank it. We can't do nothing with it. Keep it moving, So
Shawnee, you north side or south side of town?
I'm sorry, rambled on.
I'm a Southsider, but I'm a Southsider, but I have extended family on the North Side, and I'm a graduate of the U, and I have brothers and sisters that are graduated of the U, and without question, the University of Minnesota, a taxpayer-supported public land-grant institution, faces a lot of challenges in terms of dealing with their institutional biases towards African Americans. That doesn't mean that we give up. I think it's a two-pronged approach. And I used to tell people who are undergraduate students, if the U is working for you, stay. If it's not, definitely consider go somewhere else. And if you go somewhere else, like a historically Black college, and that works for you, go there. If the U doesn't work, maybe you consider coming back or going to another school within the state of Minnesota, which I had a friend do. But these institutions, are problematic in terms of self-determination of Black people. I will say that it is because of my experience with the U that got me into traveling overseas and opened my eyes like never before. But that doesn't mean I haven't faced biases with professors, me treating me differently because I'm Black. In fact, I used to go over there and drive President Ken Keller and President Neil Hastemo crazy over there, led us as well as members of the Board of Regents, and I took time to study that place. So there is strength in numbers, and so I wish we had a more active, more deep, and powerful alumni base to really, go after the U in terms of making them a place that works for us. But at the same time, some people are saying, "Hey, I've had enough," and they want to go to an institution that was built by us, for us, and reflects our culture and values, and they may go there.
But they don't come back. They don't come back to our community. They don't.
Well, yeah, that is a challenge. We have a pipeline of people that major corporations like General Mills and Cargos that recruit from historically Black colleges. But you're right, in terms of them landing in our community and serving our community, they don't come back, and they should come back.
I had my cousin Phil McFarlane on a second ago backstage. Phil, if you're there, come back in. Maybe he lost his connection. I wanted to introduce him. He's touring, starting a several-week tour of the U.S. He is with the band from Kingston, Jamaica called Earth Cry, and they're going to be in Minneapolis at the Ice House on, I believe, the 28th or 29th of this month. And I wanted Phil to come in today, or maybe in the next couple of days, and introduce himself again. Minneapolis has always responded warmly to him, as it responds warmly to the other McFarlanes that are in the reggae dreadlock music business, my brother Wayne. In fact, next week, the show is going to include a broadcast, I think, we're working it out, from the Dakota Club, in Dakota Jazz Club in downtown Minneapolis. And our intent next week is to, on Tuesday of next week, Wayne's band is headlining or playing that evening at the Dakota. And so we figured out that when he does a sound check at 1 o'clock, we could actually do our show and have our show as part of the sound check, vice versa. The sound check is part of our show. A chance for me to interview my brother Wayne, for them to play some music, for you to hear some live music on this show, and all that go towards promoting and building audience for him that evening at the Dakota. The other thing, though, is that show is going to also feature an interview with Justin Hartley. Justin Hartley is the television star who is a member of the company that another brother of mine owns, a company called Revel Spirits. They produce a tequila type beverage. It's called a blue agave beverage, like tequila. And that group is sponsoring the Guy Clark Jr. concert here later on in the week. So they're going to be on talking about that as well. So I guess we lost Phil. He was there for a second, but I wanted you to connect with Phil, and maybe he'll come back before we're off of the air. Vosh is Phil in or not? He's not there now, is he? Yeah. I don't think we have Phil in the background. But anyway, listen, this has been a good show. Sean, good to see you, man. And thank you for coming on. I've been trying to, tell you how much I appreciate all that you do. So I'm pleased to have a chance to tell you face to face.
I definitely
that
do.
I value your story, your analysis,
Thank you.
and the voice that you bring on behalf of our community. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. And I appreciate everyone else and the dedication they have in trying to educate our community, expose our community, uplift our community, and make platforms like this broadcast work for us.
So, if I'm thinking out loud now, and I haven't really sounded this out, but you were around, Sean. Did you ever come to Lucille's Kitchen when we were doing the show live up at Lucille's Kitchen?
Yes. It was a KMOJ Inside Public Policy Forum. I was there.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking it'd be kind of fun to do that again. And I'm wondering if it would work. This is like having a thinking in public. So that's what I'm doing, thinking in public. But I'm wondering if it would be cool. I know my brother Wayne and the band would like to show up again, to have live music, to open the show and to do music during the show, and to create a forum that we could bring traveling artists, like visiting artists who are coming to play at the Dakota, or at the university or at other places to sit in with Wayne, promote their events, but also be at a thing where we could, like we did at Lucille's Kitchen, bring the topics of the day, and have people present and be questioned and respond. And what we've been doing of late, Sean, is perfecting this capability of being tricontinental or global using technology now that didn't exist at the same level 20 years ago when we started at Lucille's Kitchen. Meaning, I have regular interviews with people from Venezuela, from Puerto Rico, now from Ethiopia, from London, and different cities around the country. And we have a regular person now who's on board from our friend who used to live there. You might know him, Maestre Yoji Sena. He's joining us every week from Bahia in Brazil. And so we're creating a community of our people around the planet, because what we're discovering is, Leslie, what you experienced here in South or North Minneapolis is the same thing somebody's experiencing a variation of in Bahia, in Brazil. It's the same thing that's happening for somebody who's in Lagos, Nigeria, or who's in London, or who's in Washington, D.C. And what we simply need to do is understand that our struggle is similar, and that our vision and our intention to build something different and better, to rediscover what I call an African way of knowing, something that honors our legacy, our history, our sense of origin, our origin story, and gives us the power to envision a future that we are at the center of, along with the rest of humanity, not supplicants to the table of power, but the creators and owners of the table of power, sharing that differently from what is done right now. What do you think, Sean?
No, I think you're really onto something, being that my wife is Kenyan and she's been here for over 10 years. And then her brother, who was here to welcome her, left. And then he's recently come back. And not only has he come back, but his wife and his 3 children. Minnesota has one of the most diverse in kind black-skinned populations in the United States. You could be from Kenya, you can be from Liberia, you could be from Tanzania, you could be from Ethiopia. So our state, our region of the Twin Cities is a perfect a venue to have sort of a Pan-African connection that you're talking about.
I'm going to call on you for help.
I will try to help you any way I can. I wish I was more embedded in the traditional forms of philanthropy, so I had access to dollars, and then it would be a matter of me convincing my supervisor. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. I do believe that we are people that are worthy of efforts, no matter how challenging they may be and how the obstacles have in front of us. But I'm definitely up to supporting what you're doing now.
Awesome. Listen, we're out of time. Great program. Leslie, thank you so very, very much.
Great.
Please come back. Let's keep updating people about this important initiative. And we only put in like maybe a thumbnail, a thimble full of your story.
Yes.
I know that there is volumes and volumes, buckets of story to tell. Leslie Jackson. Obviously, I didn't ask you to tell me some Prince stories, but I know you got some Prince stories to tell me.
I got Andre. I have Prince, Terry Jackson, Andre, William Dowdy, Morris Day.
Well, you know the whole world wants to hear them. Everybody in the world.
Alexander O'Neill. Okay, we can get
Terry
Jam, Terry Lewis.
See, there we go. There we go. So we got to come back and do this conversation again and again and again. And let's tell the truth. That's all. Tell the truth.
That's all you got to
it's
do.
rich. All right, y'all. Take care.
John, thank you so much.
Oh my God. Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye, Sean.
What a great show. We'll see you next time. Take care.